I mean, just incredible. And these, I want you to think about the mental fortitude of these guys. These are guys that lived at a time that you and I can never understand. They were not looked at the same. They were persecuted, held down, and they were putting their fucking ass on the line for a country that did not look at them as equals. Dude, what the fuck, man? Damn, dude. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Zero Bunker. G and CJ here, and it's been a week. We took a week off, dude. What happened?
Man, I guess we just needed to, just unwind for a second, man. And let's be real, man. We just had a lot of love.
It definitely, like, I mean, here's the thing. I don't know anybody out there that actually is a content creator, or even if you're just like consistent on your Instagram page or something like that. I mean, there becomes a point where I think that a break is a good thing.
Yes, absolutely, man. Either that or just go on a fucking rampage.
Do you have you ever taken a break on the Zulu Instagram?
No, I mean, I don't actually. In fact, like, I don't look at my Instagram as a job. I look at it as just something I love doing, love sharing. So
wow. So I mean, I don't know if we've ever really said this, but you 100% are the person posting and managing and all of that stuff.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So all the content you see on Instagram and Facebook, I do all of that. I curate all of that. It's just, I don't know. Like I said, eventually I'll have somebody that's going to help me out and contribute, but I'm always going to have a hand in it. Absolutely.
Well, for anybody that doesn't know this, like, kind of to speak to his point there, is he started this whole thing as really basically as that. It wasn't monetized at all. It wasn't any of that concept. And so
it was just strict fun, man. I wanted to share what I enjoyed, and I think that's super important. I was actually reading something about that, and it was like, you got to have passion in what you do. We talked about that a lot. So
yeah, I mean, even though it's only been a week away from the podcast, I got to be honest with you guys. Like, I kind of missed it last weekend. I mean, so really what happened was I get my kids one weekend a month, and just the way it worked out, it was Father's Day weekend, and just with everything, we decided that we were going to we posted a video of actually donating that GoFundMe check, which is incredible. You guys go check that out.
That guy, he's probably like,
he's at a strip club right now.
He's probably like, man, they fell for that shit.
That dude. Yeah, let's head over down to Perfect 10 over here in Oz, and we'll see if we catch him up. Forget Starbucks. So we posted that, and but yeah, I was already missing the podcast, man. So I'm really, really glad to get back.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, the last podcast we had was awesome with Jay and Tyson, and but I mean, there's been a lot of things going on, man. But the one thing that really stuck to mind that everybody is talking about is way the fuck up there, man. In the oblivion of fucking darkness, space. We gotta fuck that up too.
You know what, man? Like, it is funny. I'm starting to see the memes and all that stuff, and we've got, we basically, I guess my understanding is that we have a space force,
an actual space force. It's an official 6th branch of the military.
That is so. Man, I got so many questions here, man. And
it's like a childhood dream, right? It's like you can actually now be a space fucking shuttle door gunner, man.
Yeah, and are we talking laser guns?
Who the fuck? No, I mean, bro, this is like, I didn't know Trump had his like sci-fi feel, man.
Well, so we were trying to get like a better understanding of this of some sort, and we kind of looked up a couple of things, and you were saying that apparently it's not like we're the first country.
No. In fact, like, Russia had a space force from like 1992 to 1997, and then they re-upped it. I can only imagine they probably had the same concept. I mean, well, here's what I'm envisioning. I mean, militarizing the space. I mean, You're right. I mean, somebody's eventually gonna do it. It might as well fucking be us.
Yeah. So, well, and that's what's funny is like all the questions are running through my head. I'm like, okay, number one, why, obviously the obvious question is like, why do we need, let's say, Space Marines? Why do I need a Marine Corps in space or something like that?
But here's a caveat though. Space Force right now, it's always under the Air Force. They got to pick the smart ones.
Oh, shit.
So
the chow's real good.
Yeah, there's no crayons involved. So,
well, I'm thinking like, okay, military in space, like I'm trying to like quantify this. I'm trying to put like box this up in my mind. I'm like, all right, so we're talking about, potentially defending ourselves from somebody else that's going to fight us in space or fight against us with space stuff. Maybe are we talking about fighting aliens, bro? Like,
it could be all of the above, man. I mean, maybe they know something that we don't know. I mean, maybe all this shit's going to make sense. I mean, I'm sure like all the fucking conspiracy theorists and shit, they're like going ape shit. Like, I fucking knew it, man. Air 51 and Roswell and all the other Independence Day is a real movie, that kind of shit, So who knows, man? Who knows? I mean, realistically though, we're gonna have the budget to actually do this. I know the economy is good and all that good shit, but realistically, I mean, we're not planning to go to fucking Mars anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, so as far as like the budget and all that shit, I don't know. Here's my thing. I will say that it does comfort me, and maybe I'm a little bit fucking paranoid, but like I've had the thought of another country being able to like shoot some laser from fucking space down and just like wreck the whole country. And I don't know.
We've all seen Star Wars, man, and fucking was it Goldfinger, one of those old 007 movies? Yeah. So
no, is that what happened?
It's kind of like the bad guy had this like GoldenEye. There you go. Yeah, that shit. Laser, they can shoot EMPs and
holy shit.
From space, man. And but even like the old school James Bond had all the space shit, dude. So
interesting. Well, we'll see how it goes. My next question is like, what does it take? Like you're not just. Imagine like in some small Texas town, we're gonna have like Space Force recruiter. Like you're gonna go.
Could very well be, man.
Like 3A high schools and like recruiting for Space Force.
I mean, bro, it could very well be, man. Who knows? I mean, dude, if you look at it, the majority of the astronauts are all fucking Air Force guys.
Yeah.
All probably military or pilots or, and whatnot. So, who the fuck knows, man? I mean, hey, I'll tell you what, dude, I don't like heights. I'm actually good where I'm at. So, I could give a flying fuck about space. I
was never one of those kids that like thought, man, I would love to be an astronaut, or I was never the sci-fi type. Like Star Wars, I tried. And I apologize to anybody. I know it's serious business, these Star Wars fans. Mm-hmm. Look, I tried, man. I couldn't get on board. Like anything that has to do with the outer space, like it just, I don't know. I like my feet on the ground. I like gravity here. I'm good.
Yeah. And just be glad that you're living on a flat planet.
Oh shit. Now we're going to piss off a whole nother crowd of people now, the flat earthers.
Yeah, absolutely, man. But I'll tell you one thing, dude. So you were talking about posting. We were talking about this new unit and all that. So I actually had the opportunity to post about, and I'm kind of switching gears here a little bit. But I actually had the opportunity to post about Henry Johnson, which I'll talk about in a few. And he actually belonged to the unit called the Harlem Hellfighters, which was the 369th Infantry Regiment, which was formerly known as the 15th New York National Guard. Now, they were like I wouldn't say the first black regiment, but they were actually the first African Americans, which also comprised with like Puerto Ricans and whatnot, who actually saw combat in World War I. And, obviously there was a lot of racial stuff going on back then. There was segregation. I mean, it actually got to the point where the whites didn't even want to share the trenches with these guys, even though they ended up sustaining the highest rate of casualties in the entire war for the Americans, and actually saw most combat than any white unit. They spent 191 days of consecutive combat. That is insane.
Is there... So, look, excuse my ignorance.
Yeah, go for it.
But I mean, is there obviously there's a correlation there? But I mean, are we suggesting that they were put in harm's way more often because of potential bias or something like that? Do you think that that's a possibility?
I think, my opinion, and again, I think actually they were trying to forbid African Americans to actually see combat.
Okay.
Like World War II, they used to put them in the back, and you can only be cooks. You cannot see at night. So so if anything, they had to prove themselves to actually be part of it. But here's the funny thing too: the majority of the Harlem Hellfighters actually were fighting with the French. Like under the French, they're like, we don't give a fuck if you're black, white. We don't care. We need bodies. We need people to fight.
Right.
So they kind of gained that respect with the French counterparts. Because they were fucking, these guys were fucking killing, dude. These guys were fucking slaying.
Yeah.
So
interesting, man. That's wow. So okay, so you posted about this guy. So is there a particular like story or anything that stands out?
Basically, and there's like a something that I wanted to get into, which was interesting. So the guy that I'm talking about is Henry Johnson. He was a young man who enlisted into the army in World War I and was actually assigned to the Harlem Hellfighters. But what's interesting about him is that even though, again, like most people believe that African Americans back in the day, they couldn't fight or maybe they didn't have the right to fight. Well, this guy did the complete fucking opposite. I mean, he showed everybody what it was like to actually fucking kick some ass, man. So while he was on an observation post duty on the night of May 14th, 1918 in the Argonne Forest, Henry Johnson and another soldier of Company C, 369th Infantry Regiment of the 93rd Division came under attack by a large German raiding party. And there's another thing I want to say about raiding parties too, and remind me, you'll dig this shit. So outnumbered and outgunned, Johnson began using grenades, the butt of his rifle, and his bare fists against the oncoming enemy horde. Despite receiving 21 wounds in the process, Private Johnson continued fighting, wielding his bolo knife and eliminating multiple enemies, including stabbing one in the fucking head. His actions not only decimated the attack to the point of retreat, but also prevented his fellow soldier from being captured by the enemy after being severely wounded. This act of valor earned him the nickname of Black Death as a sign of respect from his prowess in combat. He survived the war, and he passed away in 1929 at a very young, I think it was like 36, of tuberculosis, but he died completely broke. He was living off his VA pension or, the military pension, and that was that. What's interesting enough, though, is that for his action in the forest, the Americans didn't give him any awards. It was actually the French who gave him the highest award for valor, which was the Croix de Guerre with special citation and a Golden Palm. Only in 1996, he was actually awarded the Purple Heart. And in 2015, the Medal of Honor.
Wow.
So,
well, a couple things here. Number one, I'm incredible. Well, first of all, we got to pay homage to the fact that this is a hard ass motherfucker,
bro.
That
20
goes,
being wounded 21 fucking times and still living, man.
That goes without saying, man. This son of a bitch. So next thing is, like, I wonder what it's like to stabbing somebody in the head, man. You think that's tough? Like, you think he's not going to go through the head? Like, a skull's tough, man.
Yeah, I mean, dude, he just ran out of fucks at that point, man. I mean, dude, tell you what, I'd be pissed if I got fucking shot 21 times, dude.
And the last thing I want to say, and I'm hoping that it's okay, being that, I'm not an African American to say this, but man, Black Death is such a badass nickname, man. Fuck, that's fucking badass.
Dude,
I want to be White Death, like fucking tattooed death. That's sick.
What, interesting thing about the story though, and I see this time and time again as I'm posting a lot of stories about, veterans and heroes and whatnot, but a lot of times I see this commonality of just this lateness of recognizing valor, right?
Right.
You see it now. I mean, even lately you see like Vietnam veterans who are finally getting the Medal of Honor or finally getting, Purple Hearts or Silver Stars, whatever, right? Now there are some issues where nobody came forth about that action until years later.
Yeah.
But the majority of it is just the fucking red tape. Now, I know there is a massive process that has to go through like Congress, has to go through all these channels. I mean, it takes a long time. But then there are some awards where it's like,
if we can have a Space Force, can we just get to fucking... There's enough... How much red tape is for the fucking Space Force? Space cadets, goddamn.
But it blows my mind, man, where it's like, these guys are, obviously... their actions there's just some people where it's long overdue to be recognized.
Well, so what years did you say this took place again?
This was over in 1918, man. I mean, it took fucking...
2015, guys.
Yes, that's like 97 years, man.
My God.
97 years.
Did you just do that math in your head? I can't do it.
Yeah, well, I did 2008. So 18, it was easy because it was 18, 100 minus 3.
God.
See, MCI's worked, man.
Yeah,
I knew it. I knew GI Bill stepped in, man. I knew it.
Well, so okay. So there's a couple things here. Number one, I know from personal experience, like, so I actually have a Navy Achievement Medal. I earned a Navy Achievement Medal overseas in Iraq, and it actually lists on the on the I know people get them for all kinds of shit. Like you carried fucking water during AT or something. No, fuck. I got you. So it lists like small arms fire and grenade attack. Like it's cool. It's actually bad. It makes me seem more badass than what I was. I'm just
and then you realize you were at the range,
right? So I clearly list combat on there. But funny enough, our combat action ribbons, like it took forever for that to go through, and it's like, and I mean anybody that was there, it was very obvious that we saw combat pretty regularly. And so it was interesting. I've actually seen that from my own two eyes. Now, I didn't give a shit. Like, I don't fucking need to carry around a bunch of medals and stuff like that. With that being said, there are certain points where it's like, dude, look, man, this motherfucker, like, they earned this, man. Like, this guy was wounded 21 times. So my question is this just a red tape conversation? Is it mostly that? Or in this situation and in maybe other situations, are we talking about racial bias?
Yes. So in this situation, absolutely. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. I mean, it's also happened with Hispanics and Latinos, with Native Americans. It has happened. I mean, luckily in the last, decade or so, people have stepped up and kind of like, hey, we need to kind of revise, a lot of these awards. Like, did he really just earn a Silver Star? Or maybe it should have been more. And there's been plenty of cases where, thorough investigations actually led to actually earning a higher medal. Now, and again, I want to reinforce what he said. This is not about, the medal. It's not about that. It's about recognizing valor. It's about recognizing, because also people that get awards for bullshit. Plenty of that. Don't get me wrong, man. You know what I'm saying? So I think sometimes the criteria, I'm going to tell you another thing too. They got to a point, even during the Iraq War or whatever, where everybody that was getting the Medal of Honor was like they were all dead.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
You know what I mean? Like, everybody was literally fucking dying, man. And, so it is medals and awards. It is, unfortunately, a lot of politics. It is. Unfortunately, you cannot just say, you know what, I think that guy should earn a Silver Star. Let me just give him one.
So let's go back to the part of like potentially having like bias or, and look, we can face facts. I mean, our history here in the United States does not necessarily favor our racism. I mean, racism was a real thing. It was slavery was and there still is racism. Oh, absolutely, completely.
On every aspect. It ain't just every aspect.
It wasn't that long ago that we had certain, like, some serious segregation and things that were going. And it's funny, man. I mean, I had a client, Joanne. I don't know how old she is now, but she's an older client.
She remembers like all the.
She remembers going to University of Texas here in Austin and there was certain like segregation stuff going on, and it's so it's crazy to think about. But my question is like, so is it old school policies and laws and stuff that's just like just nobody's revising this shit, like, you know what I mean? And then until like we're years and years later, like how the fuck do we get to 2015? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's, again, man, I mean, you gotta, somebody has to bring interest into the thing, into the person or the situation, but then he's got to go through all these channels for obvious reasons. I think that obviously a lot of the red tape could be mitigated, there was another situation, and we talked about this one guy a long time ago, but you remember that dentist that fucking took out everybody else? So the reason why he did not get the Medal of Honor, like I think he got an award in the 2000s. The reason why he didn't get it because he was actually qualified as a non-combatant, and because he was a non-combatant, using a machine gun as a defensive weapon didn't count. You know what I mean? Like that's
not a fucking video game.
I know. But that's the red tape that they go through, because on the book says he could defend himself with only a pistol or a rifle, and using a machine gun, it's an offensive weapon, so it's like it went through all this bullshit. You know what I mean? Like that's the red tape that we're talking about here.
Yeah, God, it's such a tough conversation because like we can all sit here and rationalize why this is fucking ridiculous. But
I know guys that should have got medals, man, and they didn't. And then
that's what I was going to ask you. Did you at any time feel like there was any sort of racial bias or sexist bias or anything that you saw in your time? Because I would say that we're more modern day.
Yeah, I wouldn't say there was anything racial or anything, sexual or sexist or whatever. There was none of that. Obviously, I was in the infantry. You have no women, right? And racial, like there wasn't any of that. If anything, sometimes I would see where, I'll put it this way, I have my own I'm going to tell you how I figured out the whole award system thing, I ended up getting the fuck was it? A Surcom or what, I forget the hell it was. Anyways, long story short, I ended up getting a Surcom when I got back from my first tour in Iraq. They called me out, and I was amongst like 10 other guys, right? And they were reading the citation. And I'm sitting there thinking like, man, when the fuck that happened, right?
Yeah.
Well, come to find out that I got that Surcom when that event happened, like I wasn't even there to do it. You know what I mean? So that just kind of made me realize that it's like, okay, is this whole war system just bullshit? Or, because I literally feel like just literally picked the name out of my hat and just like, we just got to give this to somebody, right?
And I do want to make this clear to everybody. He did still wear it to the Marine Corps ball.
What's that?
That Surcom, because bitches like medals, man. So
no, I didn't. No, it wasn't even a medal. It wasn't any of that. It was literally like a piece of paper that says "good job." But the point that all this shit that I have, I earned it. But that was like, it was a piece of paper. I looked at it. I was just like, the fuck am I supposed to do with this? Right. You know what I mean? So, so I have seen that. So that tells me either somebody liked me, or nobody give a fuck, and they're just like, we need to just have a quota, and we just need to throw fucking medals out there. I don't know. I mean, like the whole when I was there also. Was, and this wasn't wasn't during my second tour, but my first tour, they started like, and you guys have been to the GWAT in the early days, probably remember this, they started like blanketing fucking combat action ribbons. They would do that. Yeah. Like, they would just give it to everybody. So then at the end of the day, like, a guy that goes through that shit is like, okay, I got, and again, it's not about the medals, any of that, but it's just the significance of it. You to earn that, you have to make enemy contact. So what difference, like how am I supposed to say I earned that when then you got a guy that has never seen combat, or because, he fucking like heard a mortar round like a click out, he gets the same thing, right? It happened in Grenada, same thing, where I shit you not, guys, high ranking officers or whatever, colonels, they would literally touch down on the airfield, just take right back off so they could say they were there. Like, that's the shit that I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Like, so sometimes that's why I don't give a fuck about awards and medals. Like, my main concern has always been about my guys coming back and doing my job. That's what I was going to say, though. It's like, it makes you wonder why,
I don't know. It's so open-ended, I think, or subjective at some point where, like, there's these loopholes that people want to fucking use whatever. And it sucks because it takes away from the meaning of really the medal. And so then it makes you say like, well, you know what? Maybe nobody has medals. Like, you sign up, you serve, you know.
I'm gonna tell you another instance. For example, one of the World War II guys that unfortunately passed away in December, but he was one of the World War II guys who we interviewed. He was an officer, hell of a leader, dude, hell of a combat leader. Anyways, they did this action where I think they killed like 300 Germans, dude, by themselves. Anyways, long story short.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah. Yeah, that was it. That was just a normal day for him, dude. But he shared that he got put up for a medal, and he said, well, what about the rest of my guys? And like, well, we're just giving it to you. And he says, well, I don't want it. It's like, if my guys can't get it, then I don't need it. You know what I mean? That's the kind of guy that he was. So at the end of the day, man, it's a lot of people try to look past the whole medals and awards, man. My satisfaction is that, can I say that I did the best job that I could? Did I say that I try to be the best that I could in those situations? That I let my guys down and all that? So that's the way. That's what I don't look at PT scores or how fast somebody can go and rank. Like, I don't look at that as a measure of success.
Yeah,
I look at it as, did I do my job?
Well. So it's kind of unpack, like setting the medals aside, because it is, I mean, it's a motherfucker. Like, what the fuck point, where are we going to get with really the understanding that that goes way too far into the politics of shit. But I am curious because, like, and I'm going to tell you my stance, and I might like I already know motherfuckers aren't going to agree with me completely. I know that's how it goes. We all have our thought processes, okay? So I'm going to respect y'all's opinion, y'all respect mine. But I look at like just opportunity like opportunity to be heroic or to put yourself in whatever scenario as completely even playing field. As far as I'm concerned, black, white, Asian, whatever country, whatever sex, whatever fucking gender. I don't like whoever you decide to fuck. If you can like step up to be like to fucking like kill 300 Germans, just like the next guy, then what is all equal rights, equal fights. You know what I mean? It's like, so for me, I've never seen, and this is just my personal experience, guys. It's like, I've never seen, in person anyway, or at least I've never experienced, I've been lucky enough not to, I've never seen that kind of bias. Maybe with like female Marines versus like male Marines, but never like blatant. It was just kind of like understood. But like you had mentioned, there were certain obviously jobs and stuff that
you don't deal with the other. Yeah.
Right. So, but I'm like, I just never cared. Like, what color the guy was next to me, whether he was gay, whatever the fuck his situation was. If he was going to fucking watch my six and kill the motherfucker that he needs to, and I was going to do that for him, like, that's all that fucking mattered. You know what I mean? Like, that's all the respect that we needed, And so, I don't know. What you think?
So I would say that if you had to ask me the same thing back then, obviously I probably would have disagreed, right? Because here's the deal.
The mindset was totally different, right?
Well, the mindset was different because I wasn't surrounded by females. There was still the don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah.
So, there wasn't really, it was just like, you're a dude and like the only thing that could have been was the racial shit. But again, I've served with blacks. I've served with, guys that barely spoke English. I've served with, so if anything, it actually proved to me that it doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter. Like, I've seen, like, I never judged anybody by that. I judged the person by his character, by his leadership, by, what they did. Yeah, and so if anything, like I looked at it, I've always said the Marine Corps and the military could take all these guys from all walks of life and put them together, and then we come out like brothers, right?
Yeah.
So I was, good with that. I had no problems.
Well, I think that's what the military did for me. Is like when you fight alongside two of my best friends that I served with in the same combat tour, one Hispanic and one black, and like I said, we there was no difference, and I think that leaving that scenario as I was 19 years old, I turned 21 overseas, and it's like I just never went. I went into the world different. I never thought any different. I mean, because I had guys that were bleeding the same way as me next to me.
Yeah, exactly. Blood is blood, man. I mean, one of my best friends was from Ghana. That's like in Africa. I had another guy who was in my uni who was from Burma. Then I had, one of my best friends was from Cuba.
Was the Ghana guy the one that was going to beat up the European police? Who was that? Which one was that?
What are you talking about?
Who was the guy that you were going to get mugged? You told it on the podcast.
Oh yeah, no, he was Jamaican. Yeah,
he was the Jamaican.
yeah. But so again, stories. I've never, and this from my personal experience, I've never been raised to, to look at anybody different because of their color or because of their religion or whatever. I looked at it as the person. Bottom line, So the military actually made it. You're right, because we all bleed the same color, man, at the end of the day.
Well, I think it's amazing. It's so refreshing to me, and especially somebody that shares this an ethnicity with somebody we're talking about here. But like, I have been fortunate enough here with Zero to hear stories like what you just told of these special units, of African American soldiers and Marines and stuff that were just crazy heroic. Over at the luncheon, man. I mean, the Mesquite, what is it? Just Tuskegee Airmen.
Yeah.
I mean, just incredible. And these, I want you to think about the mental fortitude of these guys. These are guys that lived at a time that you and I can never understand. They were not looked at the same. They were persecuted, held down, and they were putting their fucking ass on the line for a country that did not look at them as equals. Dude, what the fuck, man? Damn, dude.
Dude, I hear you, man. And I'll tell you one thing, man. Here's another great example. The 442nd Regimental Combat Team, they're the most decorated unit in the armed forces, right? Mm-hmm. they're all comprised, the majority of them by Asian Americans. All guys that during World War II were segregated, put into like makeshift concentration camps because, the Japanese, bombed Pearl Harbor and all that. These guys, despite, and you said it right, despite the country hating them, they still fought, they still believed, they still died and bled for the same country that was imprisoning their own family members because they were Asian.
Now, do you think, and now obviously there's no way for us to know the mindset here, but do you think it's, regardless of this, like they believed, you know what I mean? Like
they still believed in America. In fact, I venture to say they probably believed in America more than the average person. I mean, I would say that. I mean, a person that would imprison my fucking family for, whatever reason, and somebody else say you should go fight and die, like, how many people would do that?
It's a tough
So hats
sell.
off to them, man. And this is not to discredit any other unit that fought in there, but it just goes to show you that 21 members were actually awarded the Medal of Honor. 21, like that's just insane. Damn. I don't even know. Like they issued 9,486 Purple Hearts just in that unit alone, dude.
That's unbelievable.
That's insane.
Now, what do you think? Okay, so like, it does seem that that obviously we look at things very different. I mean, we've seen some drastic changes with military policy, the way that people are considered equal. So there are changes that have been going on, and I would venture to say, as far as like medals and stuff like that, I mean, I've seen I've seen the red tape, but it's never been particular to a gender or a freaking race or anything like that. It's always been like everybody was getting fucked, really, is what it was. And so the green weenie was not particular to one type.
It did not discriminate.
Right. So
it just happened.
My question is like, at this point though, we have to accept that like there's no necessarily like going back, and
sure.
We've got to find a way, I think, to push forward. And I think that there is a conversation about people that feel like it's kind of like upset that things happened, and maybe potentially feel like, well, how do we make this right? How do we fix this? I mean, should that even be a thing? Or is it like, because growing up, my mindset was always like, and my mom raised me to like, look, shit's going to happen to you. And that's life, and you gotta move forward and not expect that you're owed something for it. Now, with that being said, I can't even begin to understand what it's like to be, a persecuted segment of society. Like I get, so I don't know, man. Like, do you think that there's an argument for like somebody maybe being owed something or like credited something, or how do we fix it, or do we just like have to like weather through to moving on and adapt?
So I'm going to thread very lightly on this. The way I see it, like you're talking about, okay, I just want to make sure I understand the question, sure. Right? You're saying that if a generation before suffered and now this generation means they're owed something.
Right.
The way I see it is this. Let's say it was my grandfather or something, right?
Right.
He suffered whatever it is, and years will go by. I'm his, obviously his grandson, and government realizes, hey man, we fucked up or whatever. Here's a compensation. We did it right.
Right.
I can, that's part of my family heritage. You know what I mean? Sure. I can say, hey dad, hey granddad, we did it, or hey, they did it right. Whatever. Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah.
I don't agree with people that are trying to put themselves in that category just because they are either the same race, religion, or whatever. That's just my opinion. I mean,
right.
Let me step back. Maybe not religion, but I'm talking about if you weren't directly involved or it doesn't really directly affect you, then I don't think you're owed anything, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like, if like, okay, let's look at Muslims or Jews, Christians, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. If they're saying that an injustice has happened, as a community, then yes, then the entire community is part of, is part of that, but not, it's like, oh, just because of, I'm just gonna jump into that group and pretend to be when, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, for sure. And the thing is like, so, I agree with you. It's like, okay, if there is some potential like systematic injustices that are going on, here's a way that I'm going to parallel this, okay? Because I get it. I'm just some white guy. He's sitting here that everybody's going to assume that, the fuck do I know about shit? But I will tell you. So I'm also a father, and I went through a really bad custody battle, and I saw a very flawed system that leaned against fathers. And that was from the top down, old school mentality things that really put me in a position that I felt for the first time in my life, I think, what it was like to kind of be looked at as like not like I didn't have the same civil rights or something as somebody else. Like I was looked at with not the same, like I'm not the same kind of parent as the mom is.
Yeah, I would say that obviously, like, if somebody, okay, like if I had to make that, I would word it a little bit differently, in my opinion. I think that maybe you're seeing that change, but if you had to like maybe get an understanding compared to, let's say, somebody who survived the Holocaust or some shit, you know what I mean? Like, obviously there's two different spectrums.
Oh yeah.
But I see what you're saying, where you're kind of like, just because I'm a father, I feel that I'm playing the system is against me.
Yeah, and it's tough because again, like we can read about these things and we can like, but when you walk the walk, so like it's not fair, let's say, for me to say that somebody of a different color there's certain systematic things that are holding back. Because the fact of the matter is, if I can't experience, it's very difficult for me to be able to ever like fully empathize with that. I mean, I can have sympathy, but empathy, the actual experience, is a whole nother thing. And but my little example, so it's interesting because I think about, let's say that laws change here, and I'm talking about here in Texas. Some states are different, but here in Texas, it's not like just equal down the middle with parents, right? Okay, it's not just split. Like it's not just assumed that like you get 50-50 custody of your children, where there's flesh and blood share. There's just as much mine as anybody else, right? So you'd think that would be the common sense thing, but it's not. There's a primary and a secondary, and there's these swayed things, and basically I get my kids 48 hours a month at this point, and so. Let's say the laws were changed in like the next 2 months and it went 50-50 for me. And again, I'm not pretending like it's not slavery, it's not the Holocaust, it's none of that stuff. But for me, in my small situation, I wouldn't go like try to ask for, I'm upset. I will always carry that with me. I'm not going to go ask for my time back. I'm going to be very thankful that things are changing. And I'm very happy that the future generation of fathers are going to have something that I didn't have.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people see that. I think that sometimes the news and the media, they focus on the wrong side of things. They focus on, like African Americans or whatever, where, they're looking at the bad thing. But there are a lot of people that are at the same sentiment. They're like, hey, I am glad that the next generation, and that's, to me, that also goes to show the character of the person, where he's not looking at himself. He's like, you know what? I suffered. I went through X, Y, and Z, but I'm so glad that my kids or my future gen, they don't have to deal with that. And that's enough satisfaction for me, right? Yeah. So I completely support that state of mind and that mentality. And I get it. There's some things are not easy. So, I mean, it's hard. It would be hard for like a Jew to forget Nazis for what they did. It would be, but if they say like, hey, you know what? But they tried to convict, one of these Nazis, even though he's 95, and I know he's not going to serve a day in jail because he's not going to make it, but at least because they tried, that's good enough for me, right?
Sure.
So I think that we always have to, just as a society in general, we always have to do the right thing and try to, bring justice. There is a lot of injustice in the world. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? There's plenty of cases of that. There's also plenty of cases of, it's like, okay, look at the guys who get convicted and then come to find out they're innocent.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, put yourself in those shoes, for example, where a flawed system took away.
Oh, the guys actually speaking, and this actually played into some of the African American conversation, but they talk about like these guys. I don't have any specific examples, but guys that like several years ago, the way like marijuana charges were looked at different. And they're in jail forever.
There's a lot. Yeah. There's a lot of this. So now you get the person that comes back out, and he's saying like, I'm glad that the system worked. Because here's the deal, like if there's a case, I'm okay, I'm gonna throw this in there because it goes right along the line with this. So I love watching Netflix, man. Sometimes I binge watch on shit. So there is a series that I'm watching. It's called Staircase, and it's very fucking long. But for those of you who don't know, it's basically this guy who his wife was found dead at the bottom of a staircase in his home. The wounds that she has, like, I mean, if you saw it, I mean, she got like fucked up, right? Mm-hmm. But the wounds that she has, you automatically think like somebody beat the fuck out of her.
Yeah.
But he's saying that she fucking slipped and fell and she just busted her head open, right? So it's so compelling because the entire, and I'm not going to spoil it, but the entire series is essentially saying that, you know, the defense has really good arguments about very solid proof that it is an accident. While the like district attorney and all that, they're looking at it all like he beat the fuck out of her. He had motives, yada, 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 right? So, well, I guess I kind of have to spoil it. But so what happens is they actually...
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, I will. So they actually convict the guy for murder, right? Even though there were very lack of evidence, even though there was shit doesn't make sense, even though that the guy who analyzed the blood spatter wasn't even competent. In fact, his testimony sent another guy in jail, kind of find out that he was actually innocent, right?
Yeah.
The point that I'm trying to make, though, is that like guys who get imprisoned falsely, right? They can say that, hey, you know what? I did whatever amount of years, but I was wrongly convicted. His case now can be a defense for any other case because that's exactly what's happening now. This guy right now with the staircase thing, he's been in jail for 8 years, right? Just recently, it popped up that the same guy who testified against him with the blood analysis fucked up the other dude who was in jail for 17 years. So now they're saying, hey, because of that case, you could actually be fucking innocent.
Right.
So that dude that spent 17 years might be sparing this guy 17 years of being fucking innocent.
And it's a very hard concept to accept that, you know, and this isn't tied to any individual segment of society, but like, guys, when we talk about somebody that put their life on the line for our country, okay, they sacrifice. For some reason, it's easy for people to wrap their mind around, you know, this person died for my freedoms and things like that. And it should be, all right? That individual deserves our respect.
Yeah.
But there's other parts of society that you got to understand that they went through trials, a flawed system. Like I look at that as a father right now. Like I am trudging through imperfect systems and I'm going to be subject to certain hardships, potentially, you know, who knows? Maybe having a disconnection with my kids and like maybe that hurts relationship. I don't know. But the only mature thing for me at this point to do is to say, like, I'm going to fight for the right thing. I'm going to bring attention to this injustice. And, you know, when it's changed, I can only be thankful that I was an example to potentially like fix the system later. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So kind of like what you're saying, it's like, it's hard, but I think it's hard for people to wrap their mind around that there was maybe a senseless death or a senseless, you know, situation because now we're mature enough to see it differently. And it's like, well, you know, it's like life in general, guys. Like, I mean, there's a lot of shit you got to fuck up and like take it from me to like start to learn things, you know. And I just hate that. I guess I feel like there's so much back and forth fighting in today's world when we've come so far to try to right certain wrongs. And I'm not pointing to one side or the other or anything, but I'm like, you know, I feel like you said, some old practices can become used as a weapon. You know what I mean? Like where it becomes kind of weaponized instead of look through the appropriate lens. If there are things going on that are fucked up right now, which I know there are, let's talk about those. Let's fix those. Let's fight for those.
And let's nuke North Korea. I'm just saying, like that would be.
Oh fuck!
That's
hey,
the whole point,
yeah,
man.
Did the summit already happen? Like whenever we had talked about it last, no, we talked about like the like they were gonna have this. So he's actually met. Like we had. They had like video of Kim Jong-un like just walking around the streets with fucking Trump.
Yeah.
That's great. It's just funny like to me. I don't know why that's hilarious to me.
It's he's probably just saying like, he's like, dude, like stop being a communist fucking warmonger, man. Like
how do you feel,
ain't got it.
How do you feel about that? So I think that Trump is definitely he's taking an interesting approach. I think a lot of people are butthurt over this. I mean, Kim Jong-un is definitely like a disgusting human being. Obviously, we know that, right? Yep. But Trump is definitely taking this kind of, look, if we ever want to get something done, there's a certain, like, we have to be able to communicate and try to have.
Well, that's exactly how the Cold War ended. You know what I mean? Like, we everything was, the whole entire war was based on fear, and we got to spy, we're going to build all these weapons, right, to defend each other, and then kind of find out that the Russians were like just as scared as we were. You know what I mean? And that's what kind of actually started toning it down, where it was like, damn, they're not these, like evil motherfuckers or whatever. They're just fucking scared that we're going to nuke them back to the fucking Stone Age, right?
Right.
And that's how it started de-escalating. But, Reagan fucking, stepped up and was like, he recognized that and he said, all right, we need to start fixing this. Need to take the first step. And next thing I
think it sucks to have to hear that we have to have, like, I mean, this is what it is, guys. This is not like a choice. We have to have a rational conversation with murdering pieces of shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, they are a segment of the world, whether we choose that or not. Like, you know what I mean? And so, I guess we can either nuke them, like you said, or we have to be willing to have the conversation.
And then nuke them.
And
I'm just saying, man. Like, I'm just throwing options out there. It's like the from Simpsons movie,
like
right?
Catfishing. Like,
you ever seen like the Simpsons movie, man?
No.
Really?
What? God, how old is that?
I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, 6 years ago.
My God.
But anyways, long story short, like Arnold Schwarzenegger was actually the president.
Oh, okay.
So they bring him like all the options, of what to do, and he's like, okay, I'll choose this one. No, it's not good. Choose the other one. No, it's not. And then he chose the one that was just like, fucking nuking fucking Springfield.
Nuking Springfield,
yeah, that's what it was.
Well, I mean, Springfield's a lot nicer than North Korea. There.
Yeah, that's true, man. I mean, you got a bunch of yellow people.
Nice, man. Well, I don't know, man. What else, dude?
I think we got it, man. I actually, dude, what I will say, though, is some news from Zero Foxtrot is that we got coffee coming. I know a lot of people here have been asking for it. In fact, I probably need a cup myself.
Do you already have like some, like, can I get some early releases?
Yes. Yeah,
Do you already have some up there?
Yeah, man. Like, we started fucking batching it, bro.
Dude, you know what, dude? I'm gonna sound like such a fucking like, I need you to do like Keurig cups.
No, I'm not there yet, dude. I'm not even there yet, man.
Little
right now,
skull cups.
Right now, that wouldn't be a bad idea, man. No, right now we're working on. We got 3 badass blends. Super reputable roaster that we're using, man. Support his mission, bro. He's also a veteran.
Can you tell the name of the roasts?
No. Oh, the name of the roasts?
Yeah, because they have cool names.
Yeah, so it's Hidden Discontent, Hellbound, and Afterlife. So it's gonna be fucking good, one? Man. All 3 of them, dude.
You don't have a preference?
No, all 3 of them are good, man. They're very bold, very good blends, and so we're gonna start that in July, and we're working on some other shit. Of course, you would say that. I mean, he founded the company. I'll tell you guys the truth. Don't worry. Hey, I'll tell you what, dude. I sent a bunch of fucking bags to like a lot of people, do all scattered across the states. I even did a giveaway a couple of days ago.
I'll tell you guys. So I didn't even know all that, man. But like just to speak to quality control at Zero is that, dude. I was there when like the raw bags came in, and like you got like 4 dudes around the table feeling material, and like dude. It's serious business. Yeah, you gotta look at all that shit, man. But yeah, man, it's been busy, dude. It's been an awesome month, and board shorts. That's right. Yeah, those just came in, so you might want to pre-order them before the 27th because they're gonna be gone. And so overall, it's been good, man. We're getting flow in, and we're hiring new people. We're obviously growing and expanding and staying true to the mission, man. And, this is being, doing this podcast. It's a massive pleasure and extension to be doing that. It's just our way of communicating. We also get it. We love the feedback, guys. If you got any kind of comments, man, any shit that you want us to talk about, let us know. I mean, we're doing this for you. We're just glad that we're able to share, what goes through our heads, man. Absolutely, guys. So, well, thanks. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We really appreciate y'all. And I do want to, kind of end with just letting everybody know, like, look, there are, anytime we get into some of the deeper conversations that potentially can resonate with people, the fact of the matter is there's a lot of like sensitivity around things, and people have their opinions, and we respect everybody's opinion. Like
Tampax.com.
Yeah, just because we think a certain way, and we might tell you like you're a fucking idiot, but it doesn't mean that we don't respect your opinion. It's just that it may not be our opinion. And I just want everybody to understand that, like, we're very open minded. We accept like whatever comments, man. Hey, put your shit down below, and I mean, good luck with what reply you get.
Yeah, that's right. But it's all planned out, bro. ZF05, it's all planned, man.
It's all planned. All right, guys, hit that subscribe button if you're on here on YouTube. Follow us for iTunes or anywhere else you're absorbing your podcast, and we will see you guys next week for the next podcast. Later,
guys.